Hello and welcome to Unprofessional Engineering. My name is James.
And you have R2-D2.
R2D2. Today we're going to take a break from the hardcore engineering that we usually do.
I would say hardcore engineering is probably right next to our names on Wikipedia.
Core principle of what we believe in. We're going to be taking a look at Star Wars engineering fails.
Okay.
Wow. So, I know we're going to get the most hate mail ever for this.
So you mentioned something. I even went through and sped through the movies this morning, just dragged my Amazon Prime Video cursor through all the movies this morning, and I had a really hard time finding bad stuff. And I think that's because I am an enormous Star Wars fanboy.
You are a big fanboy. Myself, not quite as much.
So, I think I told you yesterday, I've seen each movie. I'd say a minimum, and not Rogue One or the Solo, which I still haven't seen.
You still haven't seen it?
No, I heard it was bad.
Yeah, me neither.
I've seen each movie at least 6 to 8 times. So
that's a lot.
Yeah,
I've seen the old ones probably, I don't know, a handful of times. Yeah. The new ones not so much.
I try to do them every 2 years. And
okay.
The cool
and so
thing
does
was,
Disney. So
I kind of reintroduced them to myself with my daughter. So
yeah.
she's a huge Star Wars
Finally,
fan
a good reason to have kids.
Yeah.
All right.
Share Star Wars.
Fun fact to get us started.
Shoot.
What do you think? I never knew this kind of thing.
Okay.
But I just found it out the other day because of the internets, and that's what happens. Did you know Darth Vader can't use the lightning hands thing because he doesn't actually have real hands? He only has robot hands. You know, the Emperor and the other Siths that go and zap you? He can't do that because he doesn't have real hands.
But whenever I can just do the I'm going to squeeze your neck from across the room,
well, I'm just
I don't
saying,
know if you need the lightning hands.
It's a lot cooler than the I'm going to grab you. Okay, so let's go with low-hanging fruit to talk about our engineering fails.
And this one... Have you seen the video?
That's my first line.
Okay.
If you haven't watched Death Star Architect Speaks Out, you need to stop listening to us right now and go listen to that because it's hilarious.
It is one of the funniest things Star Wars related you'll ever see.
Yeah. So we all know that it was a thermal exhaust port that was the cause of the downfall of the Death Star, right? Now keep in mind it was 2 meters wide? The size of a womp rat, is that correct?
Yeah, according to Luke, about the size of a womp rat that he used to shoot all the time.
Because who doesn't do that? But for some reason, it goes straight into the reactor system.
What? Well, the reactor
That's where the heat comes from. But don't you think there'd be something? Anyways, that being said, the shot was pretty amazing, right? It went down this exhaust port where the wind's blowing out, the air's shooting out of it, yet that doesn't really affect this shot. That it just goes...
It's a laser...
It goes straight through miles and miles without touching the walls and smashes into the reactor.
Okay, so
right?
first
blowing
of all,
stuff up.
You're not taking the Force into account at all.
Well, that's it. It's like space wizards, so that they help make that happen.
I don't like that term.
Okay.
Jedi is better.
Okay, Jedi. Aren't they like priests almost?
Kinda.
Okay, it's like their own religion, isn't it?
A little bit.
Sort of. Okay. Well, anyways, maybe they should have had different layers. Why wouldn't they have layers of fencing in that exhaust port to let the air still come out, but stuff going in doesn't get stuck? You know why I say that? Because I have a thermal exhaust port in my house connected to my dryer.
Okay.
And it goes outside and it has this little thing that sticks out of my house. And you know what I have in there? A little bit of fencing so that
no
birds and bugs and sticks and stuff don't get up in there. So maybe I could design a Death Star.
I think you could.
So there's that.
Well, the other thing, too, is, the thing that you have to keep in mind with the Death Star is there's this theory too big to fail. And I feel like when they designed the Death Star, and this even happens nowadays with engineering, they make things so big and so over-engineered that there's an assumption that nothing can cause a problem and we don't have to worry about this little thing when that one little thing ends up being the demise of whatever that engineering feat is.
That's fair. So I wrote a blog post on bad Star Wars engineering back when I used to write Unprofessional engineering
that's why
blogs.
You're so prepared.
Yeah. So do you want some fun facts about it?
Shoot.
It houses 265,675 crew members, 57,276 gunners, 400,000 droids, 5,000 heavy turbo blasters, 5,000 turbo laser batteries, 2,500 laser cannons, 2,500 ion cannons, 768 tractor beam emplacements, and one crazy planet-destroying super laser thing.
So here's my. So who made that up?
I don't know.
Like someone had to like make that up.
Someone made that up. I don't know. Somebody actually went through and calculated the cost to build the Death Star, not to fill it up with people and stuff.
Okay.
And they decided it would be $15.6 septillion. That's
a number.
15,6 and then 23 zeros. So that's a lot of monies. Let's see here.
But you can destroy planets with it, so I feel like it's a pretty good.
It's a good deal.
It's a good deal.
Especially if they put some little fencing around that exhaust port moving forward. A couple more fun facts for you about the Death Star, and then we'll move on.
Okay.
The thermal exhaust ports are a well-known weak spot. Did you know that Kyle Katarn planted sequencer charges on the thermal exhaust ports throughout the Imperial Robotics Construction Facility Ice Station Beta and blew it up?
I did know that.
Boom. Nerds. You're a nerd. You knew that?
I a little bit.
Gosh, that's the worst. Did you also know that our good, close personal friend Neil deGrasse Tyson likes to weigh in on things like the Death Star?
Oh, he does?
He doesn't really care about the construction of it or the engineering of it, all that. He has, quote, he has an issue with, and I quote, "I have issues with the Death Star. It seems to me that the complete destruction of a planet is overkill. If you don't like the people on the planet, then you kill the people. And then you keep the planet at the end, and it's your planet. That's a waste of energy in this universe."
Neil.
He's the worst.
He's the worst.
So he's actually a well-known Star Trek fan as well.
Oh,
it's based more in
that
science, so it
explains
makes sense. All right. Do you have anything else to add about the Death Star?
Not specifically on the Death Star.
Okay. Do you mind if we move on to weapons and armor?
Okay.
And the first thing that I'm going to talk about are blasters.
Pew, pew, pew.
There we go.
Pew.
Well done. So first off, that's my first complaint, is they go pew pew.
No. How do you think a laser should sound?
Well, in space, it shouldn't sound like anything.
Like,
I wonder if people could hear you do that. That was good. Next, why can you see the laser blasts, Luke?
because they slow them down on purpose. I don't know. You shouldn't be
They're
able to
lasers
see
or plasma or particle-based bolts of light. I don't know how.
You shouldn't
and
be able to
somehow
see them.
they're moving forever fast, Luke. So fast. I'm really glad that your name's Luke for this.
Speed of light.
At least, right?
Minimum.
And yet we're able to deflect them with our little shiny swords.
Okay.
And not only
shiny,
deflect
they're
them,
not shiny swords, they're lightsabers.
and bounce them back and blow up the guy that shot them at me.
They're lightsabers.
They are.
Wielded by Jedis who have superhuman speed.
Okay.
There you go.
Do they? Here's some science for you. You
Okay.
ready? The Polish Academy of Sciences, in collaboration with the University of Warsaw, managed to film an ultra-short laser pulse by using cameras that produce billions of frames per second.
A billion frames
So
a second?
keep in mind how fast these Jedi's minds must work. The Force is strong in them.
Well, the midi-chlorians are in there doing their
These
thing.
laser pulses were so powerful that they almost instantly ionized the atoms they encountered. So I don't know what's happening with all of these stormtroopers and their shots, but they don't seem to be nearly as powerful as they should be.
Well, they never hit anything.
If they
is
even
the
get
thing.
close,
Yeah.
these things should be gone.
Yeah, they never hit anything.
So I thought that's interesting that they found that. They also seem to have an inconsistent effect on what they hit.
Yep.
Would you agree with that?
Yep, totally.
They should burn a hole through everything. That's kind of how lasers work, right? But oftentimes they blow stuff up, or they just kind of damage it. But sometimes it'll be a big explosion, sometimes just like a little
Well, it all
ricochet.
depends on the powerfulness of the laser itself. Like if it's a small, like a handheld laser. So here's one of my rants. So we'll talk about weapons. So you have this robot army in some of the first Star Warses.
Star Warses.
That's the official term.
Yeah.
So they're robots. So why do they have guns in their hands? Why don't you just make their arms guns?
That's a good question.
So they got these things called destroyers that have
terrible.
shields. They're super fast.
They
they're
rolly
great.
guys?
Yeah, and then they got the stupid ones that are like humanoid that get cut in half all the time. It's like, why do you even make those? Just make a whole bunch of the destroyers, and then
Maybe it's a cost thing.
It could be, but it's just I feel like there isn't a cost thing whenever you're the Galactic Empire.
When you build $15.6
I don't
septillion
know.
dollar.
Yeah, make them all that way.
Yeah, that's fair. So we should note in defense of all of the Star Wars nerds out there like you, that many official canonical Star Wars, like the canon, like the Bible of Star Wars, right? Star Wars sources state that blaster technology is different from real lasers. That's an easy cover-up. According to official canon, they are a form of particle beam. This is supported by how magnetically sealed walls deflect them.
Yep.
Like those walls in the Death Star and everywhere else that they just bounce off of, like no problem. So that answers it all. Before we go on, let's take a quick break for a word from our sponsor.
I'm assuming it's Disney, right? Because don't they own the Star Wars franchise now?
I was going to say it's George Lucas, but Disney does own it.
Yeah.
They're having all sorts of problems with who's going to run this thing after the last one. Apparently was a flop.
Yeah,
I liked it. Not Solo, the other one, where Leia floats around in space and zaps into the ship.
That was Rogue One.
Dumb.
That was Rogue One.
Yeah.
So my thing is, I really feel like they should have done the Obi-Wan Kenobi or the Yoda spin-off. I think the Solo story, I think that would have been a little more popular. I mean, people love Han Solo, but I feel like if they would have done one of those two first, it would have been a little more popular.
Well, it turns out we don't have a sponsor anyways, and we don't even have any shout-outs. So let's give ourselves a little shout out.
Okay.
Why don't you head over to iTunes and press the subscribe button? And while you're doing that,
Reviews.
That's right, reviews, Luke.
Like, even if you don't mean it, or even if you didn't listen, just be friendly and do it for us, because it really helps.
I would do it for you.
I would.
Yeah. So go ahead and write us a review. Leave it 5 stars, because that's nice. And let people know that we're great. Pretty soon we'll be making big money off this. We might start our own Star Wars franchise.
And you show us some that you subscribed and that you're hooked up with listening to us on a regular basis, we'll get you some stickers.
That's right. Email us at unprofessionalengineering@gmail.com, and we will get you those stickers. We might need to get some more because we're running low. So many people wants them because they're great.
Gotcha.
All right, more weapons. Let's get to the lightsaber. Is that okay?
I hope you don't dog on it because you and I might have to have some issues.
Well, it has some issues. Let's talk about that.
Okay.
So they're said to be composed of lasers or something of the sort, right? Here's an issue if they're using lasers. The necessity of something to reflect the end of the beam. That's how lasers work. Having a compact and powerful enough energy source or power source. Lasers do not clash when their beams cross. So, Darth and Luke being all...
It's not a laser saber, it's a lightsaber.
Lasers are silent, so they shouldn't go... as they swing around.
Your lightsaber noises are terrible.
Go ahead, let's hear it.
I'm not gonna.
Yeah, because yours are worse. Go ahead and shoot a pew-pew. Go ahead.
Pew, pew.
Okay, well done. And there's some materials that can withstand a lightsaber, and some even deactivate it once it's contacted. What's that all about?
So my issue with lightsabers is more the different types of designs.
Okay.
Not the actual lightsaber itself. So the very first one that we see that I have an issue with is with Darth Maul. He was the Sith.
Did he have the two-banger?
He had the double-ended. It was more like a bow staff than anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like
Donatello.
Yeah, even if you're like a Jedi or a Sith, having a double-ended, it's basically a bow staff. You only have a really small area to grab. I feel like you'd end up cutting your leg off because I've used a bow staff before and I've hit myself a couple times. And if you hit yourself with a lightsaber, you're going to lose a limb.
Maybe that's one of the magical space wizard properties of lightsabers is that it passes through your limbs.
No, it's not.
No, it's not?
No.
Is that how Luke lost his hand to begin with? See how that is? Okay.
Next one. Hold on.
You got more?
So
there's a lot of complaints.
Yeah, so the next one is the latest one with The Last Jedi. Kylo Ren, he has the T-shaped one.
Yeah, he has that one.
I feel like that would just cause all kinds of problems for the person holding it. Number one, your hand is really close to that. There's a lot of heat going on there. I feel like just a regular lightsaber is okay. And then Count Dooku.
I have something about him as well.
Count Dooku has the curved lightsaber.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, and then what's his name has the purple lightsaber.
Mace Windu.
Mace Windu got the purple lightsaber.
Yeah.
Like, why is his purple and everybody else's is kind of... And there's all kinds of theories about why his is purple, but... Yeah, I feel like just a typical straight Luke Skywalker style lightsaber, it's good. Just saying.
Okay. Green, blue, and red. Done.
Yeah.
Is that right? That's what Luke says. Okay. Isn't there something about a crystal in them?
Yeah.
And that's somehow like the power or something, and you can change the crystal and blah blah blah.
I'd never. I mean, I'm a bit of a nerd, but I'm more of a movie nerd. I haven't gone beyond.
Okay, well
that.
that's good. I appreciate that. Fun fact for you: earlier forms of the weapon were known as proto-sabers. Did you know that?
I did not.
They required battery packs, which were connected to the lightsaber hilt through a power cord. So this kind of restricted the movement. The battery pack was attached to the belt and was worn by the Jedi and the lightsaber. Boom, boom, boom.
Interesting.
Lightsabers have been generally explained as plasma kept in a force field, Luke. Usually an electric or magnetic field. Plasma would require tons of energy along the lines of a nuclear reactor. So again, power source problem. So if they're not lasers and they're plasma, still more problems. Additionally, two plasma blades would come into direct contact. It would basically result in a magnetic reconnection and cause a giant explosion, not
like a
just
black
clashing
hole.
together. A black hole would form, yes. One more fun fact on lightsabers.
Shoot.
This is really cool. Like, nerdy, really cool.
Okay.
A team of scientists from Harvard claimed they have accidentally produced lightsabers during a physics experiment. So while the concept of the lightsaber is similar to those of the Star Wars universe, there are some still significant problems and differences. So the photons used in these devices repulsed each other, and caused the energy beams to be created, but are still able to pass through one another and separate when two separate beams came in contact. But they basically made a lightsaber accidentally, and you could swing it through, and it was cool, but they still couldn't fight like swords.
I like that.
Yeah, so go Harvard. So that's all the angry weaponry stuff I have to talk about, but I do have terrible ship design next.
Yeah.
Do you have any other weapons or anything?
No, I don't. I like I said, I'm kind of a fanboy. I mean, I feel like, I feel like we got weapons pretty good.
Okay, so all of the ships are terrible.
I disagree.
Most of the ships are terrible.
So there is one ship that I think is probably the best ship. This is Prince Amidala of the Naboo's Imperial, the silver ship in the first three movies, the very, like, chronologically, first three movies.
Chronologically in our time?
No, chronologically in Star Wars time.
Oh, okay. Yep.
It's the big silver ship. It's actually aerodynamic. It looks good. It could definitely go through hyperspace without being torn apart.
It definitely could go through hyperspace.
But all of the other ones, they're these big kind of clunky. The X-Wing is probably the next best one, I would say.
What?
But
Wow,
but
that just
after
shows
those two-
how bad they are.
But after those two, they're terrible.
We'll get into the X-Wing in a little bit. My first one is the CF-9 Crossfire. So if you don't know what it is, it's basically a ship that, like, think about the X-Wing with the wings in the back. Basically, you move those to the front of it for some reason, and it's absolutely ridiculous looking. And it has the four, each wing has a blaster cannon on it, and this is where it gets the name Crossfire, of course. And there's no reason for this, and it shouldn't be able to fly, and it's stupid. But do you remember the Crossfire game where you had like there's little things and you shot them with little metal marbles and tried to like get them in the other person's goal? Loved that game. Nothing like shooting metal BBs at each other.
I like that one.
One time my friends and I had a BB gun fight in the woods where we shot at each other. Not a great idea.
Bad idea.
Okay, so another one. This one is back to our friend Count Dooku. You remember his ship? He has the Geonosian Solar Sailor. Do you remember it?
I do.
It has this giant, stupid, like redonkulous looking big old solar sail on the back or front of it. I don't even know. And that's, I guess, how it powers the ship, right?
Yeah.
And it just looks ridiculous. Like, it looks like a big parachute on the back of this ship. And I guess it's kind of like, you know, he's rolling in luxury because he was a fancy kind of guy, right?
Interesting thing about this solar sail thing is a lot of newer sci-fi movies have adopted this solar sail thing. Like, I think Passengers which is the one with Chris Pratt and I forget it's a really
Is that with Jennifer Lawrence?
yeah,
That one? Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that ship had a solar sail, and there's actually 2 or 3 other ones. I think
I've seen them in a few.
The Alien Covenant movie had a solar sail, so I think they were just ahead of their time, and it was an ugly design.
So I like it, and it's actually one of the more reasonable things, like energy-wise. But the problem I have with it is, other than being really ugly, they have these super efficient ships everywhere else, and now he's using solar power.
And there's
so
no wind in space.
There is no wind in
So what
space.
does the sail
but
do?
but I'm thinking he's just worried about his carbon footprint.
Yeah, he could
Like
be.
Dooku still had a little bit of good in him, so he was actually still fighting the fight for the environment. I don't know.
My biggest issue with the majority of the ships, especially the fighting ships, and the X-Wing being the primary one, is why would they put the R2 units on the
there.
outside?
Yeah, like their little heads popped out.
Like R2 needed to see, like, you know, it made
I have
no
a lot of
sense to me.
problems
Like,
with R2 as
like,
well.
I feel like that they could have easily put them on the ship. I get that they're like an extra artificial intelligence to help you do different things, but they don't need to be exposed because other than like,
I
they
can't wait
get
to get
shot.
our hate mail. I can't wait for it.
I just don't get why they did that.
Okay, before we move on to more of these terrible ship designs, let's take a break for this week's Luke's Rant.
Okay, here's my rant, and it's a pretty straightforward one, and I know we're going to get a lot of hate mail for this one.
love
This
it.
is the order that you are supposed to watch the Star Wars movies in. So, whenever I was deciding to let my daughter watch Star Wars, this is a couple years ago, I did some research, and apparently there is a heated debate online of the order you're supposed to watch these in. Do you watch it in the release order? Do you watch this in chronological Star Wars time, so episode 1, 2, 3, and so on? I chose, so she wouldn't be confused, because if you see episode 4, 5, 6, you don't know where like stormtroopers come from and what they are and
It was okay when I was growing up.
yeah, it was, but
I used my imagination.
but you didn't know the backstory. So I actually watched them with my daughter in chronological Star Wars time. So we did
But they keep
episode
coming out
1,
with other
2,
ones.
3, 4.
Okay.
Um,
That's how I would do it.
yeah, so we did that. That way she wasn't confused. And I know we're going to get a lot of hate. So I think that's the right way to watch it. I think if maybe you're kind of older and you've seen 1 or 2 of them, do it in release order. And then you don't have to. But
My uncle's a
for
big
younger
Star
kids,
Wars fan.
yeah.
If he listens to this one, he'll probably
He's gonna
tell
have a
you you're
comment.
the worst. What did she think of them? Did she like the new 3 more?
I
or...
thought she would have liked 1, 2, and 3 more because
they're
they had some
fancy.
CGI.
Right.
They were fancy, but the CGI in those, because this was done in like the 90s, was terrible.
I don't know if
it
they're
was
terrible,
It was
but
bad.
not good.
It was way over the top. She actually liked 4, 5, 6 better than 1, 2, 3. She loved The Last Jedi. She loved the female heroine. She hated Rogue One.
Oh.
She didn't like the
Rogue One
offshoot.
was okay.
She didn't like the offshoot, like the Star Wars story.
Okay. Did she
So-
like Jar Jar?
She did,
Yeah.
and then she realized by the end that Jar Jar was an idiot.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on. I like that rant.
Can
That
I,
was good.
since we're talking about Jar Jar, can I throw in a technology one?
Heck yeah.
So, in the very first one, Jar Jar is taking Obi-Wan Kenobi and what's his name? Liam Neeson. I forget his So Liam Neeson and Obi-Wan Kenobi are going to Jar Jar's house in the lake, right? And
And Liam Neeson taken.
yeah, the guy from
Okay.
Taken. He's taking him into the lake. Jar Jar jumps in, and then Obi-Wan Kenobi and Liam Neeson put these little breather things in their mouth so they can breathe underwater.
Oh
right?
yeah, they do.
So
yeah.
I get that these little devices
forgot about that.
could potentially purify, take the oxygen out of the water, and you could maybe breathe with these things. But if you look in the video, in the movie, how deep they went, their bodies would get crushed from the pressure. Like their eardrums would explode. And I get that they're Jedi.
That's it.
But if they're Jedi, how come they can't just hold their breath? Right? You know, if they have all these magical abilities, why do they need to put these breathers in if their ears aren't going to implode?
Yeah. Was that Qui-Gon?
Qui-Gon Jinn.
Qui-Gon Jinn?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's his master or
Yeah.
his whoever trained him.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Okay. I agree. Those were ridiculous.
Yeah.
But
That was
the whole thing was. All the alphabet ships I have a problem with.
Okay.
They go through like the whole alphabet. They got the E-wing, the K-wing, the X-wing. They're all absolutely terrible. And since the X-wing's the most famous one, that's what I'm going to complain about. So how do these things stop? They got 2 big old jet things on the back, right? Or 4 of them.
What do you mean how they stop?
They just blast off into space.
Okay. Yep.
There's no gravity to slow them down. They don't have reverse thrusters on them.
How do you know the engines don't have reverse thrust like built into them?
It doesn't look like they do. Have you
Okay.
seen it? Have
No.
you seen them actually stop with reverse thrust? No.
No, okay.
I'm also not sure how they quickly turn. Do they have such control over these engines that they just like reduce power to 2 of them and swing it around,
Of
or like
course.
to 3 of them? Is that how it works?
Of course.
Okay, it just seems pretty terrible. And I also don't see the wings ever move. So
Well, yeah, they open up. So
Barely.
whenever they're in attack mode, they
smush
become the
down.
X. Now,
No, I thought they smush down to move fast,
Yeah.
and then in their attack mode.
so mine, I think you're gonna go next is the TIE fighter.
Yeah, the TIE fighter's
So this
obviously
one
the worst.
I do get.
Do you know what TIE stands for?
No, I don't.
Twin ion engine.
How did I not know that?
I don't know.
I, feel
I
like
thought
you
that's
know
like
more of
famous.
this. No, it isn't.
No? Okay. Well, it's an amazing design, right?
It's a
2
terrible
giant
design.
vertical panels around a cockpit that fits all of 1 person?
Well, the big thing that
Maybe 2?
the vertical panels is you have absolutely 0 peripheral vision.
Yeah.
Like none.
Really bad. You can't see anyone coming
and
for you.
Where's the engine?
I don't know. I just don't know.
I mean,
How do you turn?
I don't know.
It's pretty much the worst. So I don't know. That's all I have to say. Like, it's just so bad that I can't really say anything about it. Though Darth Vader's is pretty cool looking.
Yeah.
He has a special one.
Yeah, with it's like a C-shaped wing.
I have a bonus one.
Shoot.
It's not a ship, but it is a transport. What do you call it? An ATAT or an ATAT?
AT-AT.
The all-terrain, all-transportation vehicle.
This is the big, huge thing whenever they're on Hoth.
It's a big metal camel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think they actually have open air ones as well, but I'm thinking of ones that are closed up. I think
Okay.
there's some that are closed. It's a big camel that carries people around, like troopers and whatnot, and they have big lasers on them, and they can stomp anything in their way, and they're giant, and they move really slowly. They're like so slow. Everything in the Star Wars universe, galaxy, whatever, moves really fast.
And it floats.
And it
has
floats.
engine.
This is a big, slow, stomping camel. Not only is it a big, slow camel that's meant to get people places, but somehow the metal in it is really weak because a harpoon can get shot into it. You're
Well-
telling me that they had to cut costs on that as well?
No. So you got to understand how force fields work. So force fields prevent like laser beams from coming through, but like material, like metal objects, like a harpoon or a person.
I get it. I'm
can
not
get
complaining
through
about
the
force
field.
fields. Those are totally legit. I get that.
They're totally-
My problem is that the metal on metal, it just jabs straight through its leg.
Well, maybe it's
Not
titanium.
cool. Then the engineers decide, you know what? We'll make this so unstable that we can just wrap a little cable around its leg and bring
Wow.
the whole thing down.
Well, that was pretty ingenious of Luke to do that.
Well, he's a clever boy. But I just thought it was all around bad.
Okay.
Any other vehicle fails?
Let me see. Vehicle fails. No, I have no other vehicle fails.
You don't?
No.
Okay. Well, I have a few just all-around physics fails.
Okay.
How about that? Not really specific to things, just kind of how Star Wars
Can
is
I
wrong.
lead this off with probably my most irritating one?
Yeah.
Why didn't R2D2 just speak English?
Luke is not that good, apparently.
No,
Didn't he build him?
So,
No, Anakin did.
So my problem is
don't know.
every other thing in the Star
C-3PO
Wars
can speak
universe-
English just fine.
And he can speak like a million different languages according to him. I forget what the number is, but I just don't get what all the beeps and boops and bops do.
Yeah.
I get that like the robots could communicate with each other through those, but and like how does everybody know how do the people like everybody in the universe speaks this robotic language somehow through the beeps?
I feel like
boops,
you're just
and bops?
complaining. That's not really
No,
engineering at
it
all.
is. Well, like give it a voice box. Like let it speak English. That way we know what he's saying. But
Yeah.
but I get what they did. It was a play
I get it,
on
yeah.
the relationship between the robot and Luke and Anakin. So
Okay. Yeah, that is annoying. I got it. So physics fails. If you want to learn more about them, go to the PBS Digital Studios and look up It's Okay to Be Smart in the Star Wars episode. It's pretty good. And you can also check out the wiki page, Physics and Star Wars. Lots of info there.
I actually do have one more vehicle.
Wow, he's so angry.
So very
Okay.
first one, Phantom Menace. the pod racers.
Oh, okay.
So this is the one with that little annoying kid.
Yeah, that little
He was-
Anakin, right?
he was.
And then that little like bug-looking guy.
Yeah. So the actor, the kid, it was the worst acting like you could ever imagine. He was absolutely terrible. But apparently, he's a little bit of a Jedi. His midi-chlorians are, through the roof. So that means he has a lot of Jedi in him.
Is that like Scientology when they like do the test? They score real high? Okay.
Yeah. So the pod racers are basically jet engines that you connect with cables to this hovering pod. Like, that is the most unstable... Like,
how are the things not just like shooting?
Yeah, and how do you stop them? And it just seems like,
and they go really fast.
It's crazy fast. So
dangerous terrain.
So now let's talk about like parenting 101. His mom was alive.
Was she?
Yeah, his mom allows him to get into this pod race. It's just like, and like, so imagine like giving your kid, get in a car, you don't know how to drive, you're too young, don't wear a seatbelt, off you go. Come on, it's just, sorry.
Okay then, back to physics fails. Take a deep breath over there. Man, why are we always flying around space with our burners going? You're in space. Newton tells us an object in motion tends to stay in motion. There's nothing out there.
You want to go faster.
But you can only go so fast because you have to hit hyperspace, right? No atmosphere means no fireballs in space. A lot of explosions. It's more of like a flash, though. It's not like this big fiery explosion and going on. A bunch of malarkey, they call that.
Malarkey.
Also, there's no sound in space, so no hums and pew-pews and all that. Maybe inside, that's fine, but not everywhere else.
So have you ever seen the video where they take all the pews out?
No.
So there's a video where
someone really terrible?
Edited, and it was all the stuff you talked about, like where the lightsaber sounds, the gun battles, and imagine all those scenes with like no pew. It's terrible.
Oh,
so
I'd imagine.
You have to have.
I get it for the movie, you have to, but it's just wrong. Did you know that all of the ship fighting in Star Wars was based off of World War II dogfighting?
That's pretty cool.
I thought that was cool. They couldn't possibly do it, especially at those speeds, but it's very cool. According to Albert Einstein, it would take an infinite amount of energy to accelerate an object to light speed. And I feel like Albert Einstein is right up there with us, so he's a smart guy.
Yeah.
Even if a ship could travel that fast, it would take years to go from one star to the next. Because nobody wants to sit in a theater for a long time. The Millennium Falcon could make it from Tatooine to Alderaan. We came up with hyperspace.
Yeah. The Kessel Run.
Makes sense. The Kessel Run. Speaking of the Kessel Run, our friend Neil deGrasse Tyson has to weigh in on this one as well.
He did?
Are you ready? You've never heard of the Millennium Falcon? It's the ship that made the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs.
Oh, it's not 12?
It isn't?
I don't know. That's what he says.
No. The problem is, for Neil deGrasse, is that obviously a parsec is an obscure unit of distance equal to 3.26 light years. Neither has anything to do with time. Boom. You've been deGrassed.
Is that what we're gonna?
I think so.
Doing now?
I think next time I think that's gonna be a thing. Hashtag deGrassed.
I like that.
Yeah. Because if you've been Tysoned, maybe it is Tysoned because you could be knocked out or you could be knocked out with knowledge.
Yeah, look at you.
I like that. Okay, a few more things. Okay. Return of the Jedi. Let's see here. Oh, the ending.
What?
So the giant destruction of the second Death Star, like blowing up right over the planets where all of those cute little Ewoks live.
Yeah.
Right? So they're so cute. Physicists have concluded that this explosion should have sent giant chunks of debris flying into the forest moon's surface at about 220,000 miles per hour, which would basically result in a dinosaur-esque kind of impact and crater killing them off.
So no more.
They mostly
Ewoks.
just celebrated and like squealed and danced while they were doing that. And so the last thing I want to complain about is, and this is just me being angry, and it goes back to our friend R2-D2,
okay,
who sits on the outside of planes,
okay,
who speaks in bebop boop boops and stuff.
Yep.
But also, why is he the only way to communicate anything? Help me, Obi-Wan, in like silly holograms. And here's a map of the whole galaxy or the whole universe. In the new one, R2 has it except for this one little chunk. And that's the only way we store stuff? We have the cloud. I can find anything.
We have the cloud.
I got the internets, and they just have to depend on old rusty R2D2 who feels good that his boy is back and like starts coming to life again.
Well,
He's so depressed that he can't give them maps that they need to fight these
Well,
evil people in space.
I
Oh, that really drove me nuts.
the thing that probably bothers me the most is, and this is the thing people have complained about with all the movies, why is all of the evil destroying weapons round? So
Empire's weapons. Don't they have one really long, like triangular, like pizza shaped one?
Well, that's the ships.
Yeah.
But that's not like they're
Oh, not to blow up a planet.
yeah. So
kind
like
of thing.
you got the Death Star.
Yeah.
And then the Death Star really didn't blow up, and then it blew up again. And then they made the planet one, which was basically the Death Star, but just like a lot bigger. And it had the exact same flaw. You could like go over to the other side of the planet, cut a hole here, and then blow things up and kill the planet. It's like I feel like they could have been a little more creative.
Yeah, they were
Just
really
saying.
lacking. Right? They could have had a trapezoid.
Thank you for carrying me through this episode, because I had a really tough time being a fanboy finding things that I didn't like about the movies.
It makes me feel a little bit bad about how much I apparently don't love them.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
That's because you're a Star Trek fan.
I've never seen it. But I guess if any of you have anything to say about our opinions,
My goodness.
feel free to write in and let us know why we're wrong about how bad Star Wars is with respect to the engineerings. Let us know about things we missed. And I guess that's it. So until next time.
See it.